Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. This is TRB Live. I'm John. Thank you for joining us on this special episode as we celebrate. By the way, spoilers. If you're watching or listening, we are going to assume that you have watched Ahsoka Part 6, Far, Far Away, written by Dave Filoni and directed by Jennifer Getzinger, renowned TV director who flies under the radar. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, all spoilers. So we are here to celebrate the return of Ezra Bridger, live action debut, and boo, the return of evil Grand Admiral Thrawn. Boo. Boo. It's like
I wasn't booing it. It was actually very exciting.
Very cool. Yeah. With me as always, James and Lacey. So what's going on? How did you guys feel when it finally happened? The first one being Thrawn just popping up, and you're like, all right, were you like, finally? Or did you think they were going to drag it out longer?
I thought they were going to drag it out longer. I said in the chat before the episode, somebody said, how are we feeling? And I was like, I think it's unlikely. I said, I still think that's probably a long shot. This funny, I say early in the season. But I really thought they were just going to like drop it, teaser episode 7, he's here episode 8 or something.
Yeah.
I knew they were definitely going to put him in this episode. It was right there that it was going to happen. Especially because they had the whole like leaving in the Purgle. There's no way they were going to drag it out. That's how I felt. I was like, that would be bad television.
Yeah, I'm glad it happened because now, we can move on to other, expectations and that sort of thing. And we're going to get into all of it. We're obviously going to break out the Rosario scale and rate this episode from 0 to 10, check in with what our patrons had to say. But before we do that, first of all, I want to thank anyone who's joining us live. We appreciate that very much. Or if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, whether that's Apple or Spotify, thank you for that. Spread the word to your friends. If you have friends or coworkers or classmates, you're starting school and you have people who you like to nerd out with about Star Wars, let them know about TRB. It's a good time. Bring them on in.
I wish I was going back to school.
Oh, no.
I love school.
Absolutely not. No. But who is going back to meeting is apparently the studios and the Writers Guild met today and they're meeting again tomorrow. So maybe some
about time.
There.
Let's go, Bob.
So make the deals. Seal the deals and let's boogie.
Give people what they deserve.
Yeah. And we are standing by alongside the writers and actors who are on strike. And hopefully they finally come to a deal to bring everybody back to work so we can get some more Star Wars because Ahsoka is winding down. We only have 2 episodes left. I can't believe that, actually. It's crazy to think. Only 2 episodes left with everything that's still left to happen. But before we get into the show itself, I just want to say super chats are available if you want your comments read on the show and talked about on the show. We'll get to those in just a moment, but we announced a giveaway last week and it was a really, really cool item. Lacey, why don't you remind us what the item is and then announce who our grand winner is?
Doing my Vanna White. It is a Chatterback chopper. It's super cool. We actually got to preview it at Celebration. In London, they had one out that they were using and playing with, and it's really cool. It talks to you and moves around. It has like all these different motions. It's just a really fun toy for collectors and or people, family, kids. It's going to be a cool toy for anybody that gets it. But so we had the option to enter via YouTube or Twitter or both. And coolly enough, I don't know if coolly is a word. Cool enough is that this time the winner was someone from YouTube because last time it was someone from Twitter. So that's cool. And the winner is Justin Jones at Pirate JJ04. Congratulations, Justin. And I do want to read his comment because, his comment's really great. He said, I loved the positivity tonight. The last 2 episodes have been really fantastic on so many levels, and I appreciate all that you 3 bring to the conversation. Much like what we saw out of Ahsoka at the end of this episode, I think we will start to see a return to form for Sabine. I think she will start to use her experiences and skills to find a way to make problems for Baylan, Shin, and Morgan that will make this journey a difficult challenge. But much much like she had to think her way through the World Between World clues in season 4 of Rebels. Have a great weekend. I think, surprisingly, Justin, I think you were partially right with this answer. I think Sabine did cause some issues this episode. She definitely didn't, get scared or anything. She was fighting from the moment she showed up on screen. So congratulations, Justin. For everybody,
Congrats.
don't worry. We have more giveaways to come. But yeah, he scored a Chatterback Chopper.
Very cool. That's awesome. And I entered and I was rejected. Like I said, I'm not allowed to enter the contest. So.
You are not allowed to enter now.
Before we get rolling with the Rosario scale, I believe James is warming it up right now behind the scenes. We do have some super chats, right?
We do, and it's so awesome. So thank you so much to everybody that adds some super chats. It means a lot to us.
Yes.
That you're supporting the show and you want to be a part of the show. It's cool. Oh my God. 2. I'm like out of it tonight. Anyway, first up is Kumar. Welcome. This is his first super chat. Thank you so much. He said the opening Purgles in Rainbow Hyperspace was cray cray. I like calling the turtles E-Rocks. Love you guys. I love that. That's funny. E-Rock.
Thanks, Kumar. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much. Next is David Probus. What up, David, aka Proby1 Kenobi? He said, Balin is my favorite character in this series.
Yeah.
This might be a future cosplay with a long beard. He is so good. David, I would love that cosplay on you. You should do it. I can't wait to see it.
Yes.
Next is Kyle Beckworth. What up? He said, I loved this episode. Only wish we could have gotten one of Huyang's stories and Turtle Power. Thanks, TRB. I agree. I wanted to hear those stories immediately. And I also loved, we'll get into it, but how Ahsoka's like, everybody has their favorite, but clearly the first one's the best. I was like, that's clearly a fan joke right there.
Oh,
where she's you know what I mean? Where she's like, oh, well, clearly the first one's the best one. And it like made me laugh because I was like, that's what fans do. Well, like clearly this one's the best,
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Stubby Wan's back. What up, Stubby Wan? Thanks for the super chat. Said, I'm calling it now. Reanimated whale bones in space. I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger. 10 out of 10. Yes.
Thanks, Stubby. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys so much. And let's get into this.
Yeah, so we're going to rate this episode 0 to 10 using Rosario Dawson's. And what better way to celebrate this show than using Rosario? Even though in this episode, she had pretty much a cameo. So a little break from Ahsoka herself.
John hates that too, when the main character is a cameo in their own show.
Yeah, well, except that Mando episode, or the Mando episode of Boba Fett, which was sort of that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I still enjoyed the episode, and we'll get into why here. But I didn't have as high as of a score as one of you. And we're going to start things off with James here. James, 0 to 10. Where are you at on the Rosario scale for part 6 of Ahsoka? You're muted, I think.
Are you going to give your...
Oh, I was muted. I gave it. It was a perfect episode. This was a 10.
There it is, folks. At 10.
Yep.
Now, why
it better than last week's?
Yeah, you rarely give out these, so this is big time for you.
I watched it and I thought, I said on my reaction that it might be another perfect episode. And John was asking for scores earlier, and I was like, I need to rewatch it because I don't want to say that, but I felt that way. Like I felt that way maybe a little bit about last week's episode, but I wanted to rewatch it. And when rewatching it, I was like, yeah, there's parts of this that I feel like are not moving fast enough, or there's parts of this that are important to the story. But on rewatch, I'm like, yeah, I know what you're gonna say, so I kind of want to like skip it. And there was nothing in this episode that I wanted to skip the second time, and I couldn't think of any way that you could craft this episode any better. So
nice.
10.
Big time. All right, 10. Lacey, how about you?
I gave this episode a 9, which is
Great
a solid score.
Yeah.
Before anybody boos me, it was a solid score. And I feel like last week's I gave it a 10. I thought it was perfect. And this one was very different. Tonally, just like the story itself, it was different. And if I'm going off of what I think is a 10, it just doesn't hit there. But it's a solid 9 like every other episode that we've watched. This is easily my best rated Star Wars series that we've ever watched.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think collectively that's probably the case too, for us, and maybe even the
Yeah.
base. Um,
Yeah.
I also gave this a 9. I thought it was great, top tier. 10 for me is very rare for me to give out. 9.5s as well. But overall, I thought it was outstanding. There were just a couple of moments where I felt like I was taken out because I felt the volume more than in previous episodes.
It looked
And
like California to me.
That was the other thing I was going to say. I was going to bring it up later. Like, we go to this new galaxy and here's this new planet. And it's like, all right, it's like, looks like Colorado or something. I don't know.
It
I
looked
wish
like
it was like
the
upside
Valley of
down and like
California.
neon
Yeah.
colors or something bizarre, but that's fine. But then also, I think this episode was helped out by obviously the two big reveals. Because if you strip that away, it's really a setup episode for these final 3. Like, this is like the exposition for the next 2, as how I see it. So I think seeing,
and both their
Thrawn,
reveals were perfect.
yeah. So I mean, you have to also add that to the value. So I understand that. But it was definitely, it got a little cheat code in the ratings, I think, because we finally got Ezra and Thrawn, and that made everybody happy. So,
John, have you ever had a 10? What was your 10?
The finale for Obi-Wan, I think, was my only 10.
That's so interesting because I feel like we've given 10s to all different episodes of different shows.
Yeah,
because I know one of yours was the first episode of Mando.
First episode of Mando, Luke Skywalker of Mando.
Yeah.
And then last week's Ahsoka have been my 10s, I believe. Someone's got to double check me, but I'm pretty sure those are my 10s.
Archives.
Yeah,
but for
us, I do want to go back and look at all that stuff.
For us, that is a 9.3, just a sparkling score on the Rosario scale. There she is.
Oh, she looks so great.
Outstanding. Our patrons actually tiered a little bit lower than we did. They clocked in at an 8.8. So there we go. Still
I don't know what they're thinking.
Still a very, very strong score, though. An 8.8 is stellar. I think you would take that on any
James
IMDb.
is offended.
Yeah. All my Rebels fans, where are you at? And then all of a sudden everything happens and we're giving 8.
There you have it. More to come, but let's check in with a couple of comments from the base. And we start off with our new Admiral Bill, who chimes in. Thank you, Bill. He said, Dave is taking Star Wars to new heights. 10 Rosarios for me. We have 2 episodes left, and I think we're in for a ride. Best Star Wars content in the Disney era. George would be proud. Thank you, Bill. And then we have Commander Sarah, who checked in with 9 Rosarios, 10 Thrawns for those eyes alone. Yeesh. This is what she wrote. Yeesh. So thank you both for that. And thank you, everybody, for the scores and contributing out of the base. We love seeing where we're at compared to where you are, but both excellent scores. And I see in the chat, even for people who aren't patrons, a lot of 10s, a lot of 9s. So it's all good right now. So it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan, as they say. All right, now it is time to get into the chatter of this episode, and we are going to start with our favorite shot or moment or line from the episode. So I'm going to kick it off this week. No surprise to anybody. It's Baylan Skoll.
He has a great little monologue in this episode.
It was the moment he finally shed more light on what his dreams and aspirations are, which felt a little Thanos-y to me, but I think I didn't want to say I predicted this necessarily, but I think I sort of said like he's looking to clean slate and start the galaxy over again. And that's sort of like what he's leaning towards is he's almost like an existential nihilist at this point. He does not believe in the good, the bad. He thinks it's all cyclical, and he thinks there's a better way to do things. So
he's been broken down. Yeah.
He's fully has his own mission here that goes against Elsbeth, goes against Thrawn, that goes against the Jedi. He's a man on his own mission, and I see a little bit of doubt coming from his apprentice, Shin, as
A
she keeps saying,
little?
like,
I thought she was pretty obvious the whole
Well,
episode.
she still
I didn't get that.
she still backs him, but she keeps saying, like, every time they talk about this thing, she keeps saying it's our time now, or what is that going to do for us? And he says no, for everything. Like, I'm starting everything over. And I don't think she's exactly understanding what he's really trying to do. So it's going to be interesting where that goes forward. But that's my moment for me. I thought Ray Stevenson did a fantastic job once again. And I'm sad that there's only 2 episodes left of him, but I'm going to enjoy every moment of it. So let's go with Lacey for your favorite, I assume, shot. Can I predict that?
Sure, go for it.
No,
you don't know
No,
what
I'm just
it
saying,
is.
yeah, I'm guessing it's a shot.
It is a shot. And it's right at the top of the episode. And we're back to another dolly shot. And it's the dolly shot where they pull out from Hu Yang starting a story. And he said in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And they're pulling out with the camera as they're both sitting there with the hyperspace. It's such a beautiful shot. And it gave me chills. It was like a magical moment in Star Wars that you feel like you're like a part of something bigger than just this little story that's happening in front of you, and that you're like in on something. And it was just so beautiful. And then today, seeing people post clips from Celebration in 2022 where Andy was asking Dave Filoni where Ezra was, and he goes, "He's far, far away," and that's the episode title. So it's just,
yeah.
I don't know if he meant to do that, but even if he didn't, it's still hilarious. I would assume he did because he probably wrote it by then. But yeah, it was just, I love that shot. It's such a good shot. The kind of pullback. It's the opposite of a push.
I think they just started, or were just about to start. They just started filming at that time, so it was definitely in the can.
So he probably wrote it, but I just
Yeah.
think that's so cool to kind of, it's like a different type of Easter egg, you know what I mean? To know that he said this so long ago, you feel like you're in on it, and it's like something for fans. But
Well,
the idea too that I said before, which was when they're talking about the stories, like, oh, there's 3 stories. I like the first. Clearly, the first one's the best one. To me, was very much Ahsoka acting like a Star Wars fan, where it's like, well, clearly the first one's the best one. But then when she was like, tell whichever one you want, it made me want to listen to an audiobook of Hu Yang telling these stories. I wanted to know what they were.
Yeah, well, I thought the first, like when she's saying the history of the galaxy and she says the first story, that to me is going to be that Mangold story, right? Because Hu Yang's around during that time, so he could have told her that story, and we're going to see it via the movie.
But it is interesting that Ahsoka and Baylan are talking about these stories and heard the same stories when they were in the temple.
Yeah.
So now she's going to arrive with the same knowledge, remembering these stories that he has also been kind of nostalgic about. And I think there's something there that's on a deeper level that's touching to Star Wars fans, of like the nostalgia of hearing these stories again and knowing how they impact stories later and how they impact us as people, especially with Baylan, where he's like basically making choices later in his life on the nostalgia of what he heard when he was a kid. So,
I mean, it all came to life.
Yeah.
It's all real.
So yeah, that was my shot.
This might be a little too analytical of the situation, but I thought it not strange, but it's interesting. If they're from the galaxy that they're from, and he says, this is the history, I'm going to tell you a story from the history of the galaxy, part 1. That story would start with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So the history of their galaxy starts in a different galaxy far from where they are now.
Right.
Is that right?
I took it more as like a once upon a time. Like that's how they start their stories.
Could be.
But it's a historical story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Baylan said it was like a fairy tale. And that's what
true,
Ahsoka
too.
said too. So I don't think it's a historical
too.
retelling. It's more.
Did you guys like that? Speaking of Easter eggs,
the one Galaxy Far, Far Away?
Does it hit like Star Wars for you?
Yes,
like
I just said that's my favorite shot and whole sequence.
Oh, well, no, I know that, but that specific line of him
Yes.
saying literally the blue
Yes.
text of Star Wars. Oh,
Yes.
I hated that.
Sit down. More than you're already sitting.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I was okay with it. I saw what was happening, but
I thought it was clever.
It.
I thought it was well done. And once again, Filoni, beautiful writer. Loved it.
All right, James, what do you got, buddy?
Mine is, oh gosh, what's happening?
What
John's sitting down. I don't know
It's
what he's
okay,
doing.
he's fine, just go ahead. Give your answer.
Mine is the arrival of Thrawn, the Chimera, and him walking down between the stormtroopers. Everything about that moment, every portion of that. It's not so much a shot; it's more of a moment. But it's like that ship arriving and looking the way that it does, the way it comes down, and they're on top of this mountain, and yet it feels like they're being lifted up into the ship because of the way it's coming in, the way he walks down, the way they reveal the soldiers, like his first lines. I'm just like, everything about this is perfect. I love all of this.
They're so dead. They're so dead.
You know what's funny? I'm apparently the only person that didn't get that, but you got everybody's probably right.
I
get that
immediately
it probably is.
As soon as he walked out and they were all doing those creepy voices and the guy with the gold mask was doing the creepy Merrick voice, I was like, these guys are dead. Night Sisters brought back them from life. They're covered in dirt. They have red with gold, and then the Night Sisters are wearing red, and like everything around them, their memorial stuff is all gold. I was like, dead, dead, dead. They're all dead. That's disgusting. It's scary. It's creepy. And that's why I gave this a 9. Some people were joking in the chat. I was really scared in this episode. I got like really creeped out. Yes, I got severely creeped out.
Yeah. I don't know about that. That makes it cooler for me. That if it was a 9.5, finding out they were all dead and that's Night Sister magic that brought them back for an army of the dead.
Anxious.
I'm like, that lifts it up to the 10. That made it cooler after I had already decided that I liked the episode. I was like, it gets better.
They have dirt on them, and then they're like unloading the catacombs, so it's probably all their dead bodies because they have to probably be near maybe where they're dead, or like maybe it's more army members later. I don't know. I don't like dead things. So it made me really uncomfortable.
So you don't like Ben
Sorry
Solo?
You felt that way.
I don't like Ben Solo dead. Yes, John, that is correct.
Got it. Got it. All right. Yeah, also I like the music. The organ was
Oh my god, I think that's what made it so anxious for me, is the music.
Yeah, it felt like felt like Phantom of the Opera or something. It was very cool.
Well, I mean, it's Thrawn's theme from Rebels and stuff, you know, the way they're bringing that in, and I think they did a good job too, because like I don't feel like they ever like were heavy on it, like giving like the melody or anything. They just like let it resonate, and mixed it in with other sound effects and stuff. I thought it was so good.
Dead stormtroopers, are they just as inaccurate as not dead stormtroopers? That's what I want to find out.
I don't know, but we're going to see a ton of them at the next celebration. You know that's going to be a sick cosplay because everybody can have their own version with the red and then the gold.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, it's going to be
yeah, I wonder what the man, that's crazy, because I wonder what the 501st version of that would be approved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they all have to be like accurate, and it's like, well, they're kind of like all accurate in the fact that they're inaccurate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. And then that one guy looks like he's from Gladiator. Enoch.
That's what everybody was saying. Yeah, Enoch. Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I keep forgetting that I have pictures. You guys need to remind me. Do you have a picture of that?
He's so creepy. They're all so creepy, and his voice sounds like Merrick's voice. That's why immediately when he spoke, I was like, oh, so they're all like the puff ghost dead people.
Well, what's interesting about that is like, especially the Enoch character or whatever, and I bet like the moment he first showed up, there were people who were still like, oh wait, that's Ezra. Actually, that's probably Ezra right there.
I'm sure it probably happened, but
I think we saw it in our chats actually on Discord. People were saying that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
But when I see like those faces that are masks of real faces, that stuff is what freaks me out. Like seeing a stormtrooper mask, I'm like, whatever. But when you see like a face, that's a face, like a mask, that's weird.
Go back to the troopers, James. So we're showing some pictures on screen, guys, of the troopers. Yeah, it's just very interesting as you look around. Like they each have different red covering them. The gold kind of pieces them together. It looks very kind of Kylo Ren, Rise of Skywalker, where the red was piecing them together. It's gold.
Yeah,
and they're covered in dirt.
Got smashed in different ways. So
it looks like they got blown up and then they got put back together.
I did not expect that. at all.
So cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's
is
so
very cool.
creepy, though. It is really creepy. I don't like dead things.
Yeah.
Palpatine included.
Yeah. All right. So let's before we get into the main discussion, let's check in with our super chats.
So first we have John B. Thanks, John B, for the super chat. Love your mural image on YouTube. He said they're called night troopers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Night
Right.
troopers.
Very
Well,
cool.
no thank you, night troopers. Like, I don't know. Those seem way more scary to me, obviously, than regular stormtroopers. You see stormtroopers like, oh, cool, stormtroopers. But these guys, like, between the music and Thrawn and just like everything in that moment, I was just so anxious. I was like, oh my god,
I
they're
wasn't.
dead.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. Are you saying that you wouldn't? They scare you like a like Jet Freddy or something would scare you, or are you saying like just get them out of Star Wars? I don't like them at all.
No, they creep me out. Like a scary movie, they creep me out.
Okay, so yeah, so
I'm getting a bad vibe. Getting a bad vibe from them.
Oh, sure.
Something's
Okay.
weird. Don't like it.
So they're sort of like
Ooh.
successfully pulling their job off as an army of things you should be.
And Kevin
You should
Kiner's doing a
fear.
great job with the music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Army of the Dead.
Cool.
Thanks, John B.
Next is Ryan Warren. Thanks for the super chat, Ryan. He said the Night
Thanks,
Trooper Legion was awesome. I need more Enoch. Sick.
Enoch.
Hasbro's Enoch, sorry. Hasbro is going to make so much money. That is true, guys. Hasbro PulseCon's this Friday on the 22nd, and they're making some Star Wars announcements at like 12:20 or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing this because the first thing they always announce are troopers. So all they have to do is put gold and red on their troopers.
That's all they have to do.
That's all they got to do. And a little dirt. A little dirt.
A little bit. Yeah.
Right. You make a good point. Can't wait to see what they announce.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, let's just get into it. Let's chat it up. First off,
I was gonna say I knew the name Enoch because it's like a biblical name, and I was like, I wonder if there's a connection there. And I remember looking it up, and I can't seem to pull it off what I saw earlier, but it was something. The name Enoch means like experienced, profound teacher, something along those lines. So I was like, oh, say because it's kind of like he may not have been named that, but they appointed that guy as the teacher and named him Enoch. You know what I mean?
yeah, maybe.
So
It's a cool name, nonetheless. Enoch, like my knock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Michael in the
true.
comments makes a good point that the ship was covered in gold patches as well, like it was repaired.
Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
And he did say that the witches helped with dark magic and they needed help again.
Yeah.
So that to me was like, oh,
And they said like as destiny foretells or something.
I don't like them either.
I would. I hope Thrawn got the or whoever's gonna buy that thing gets the Carfax because that thing is banged up.
He's trying to trade it in for a good $5,000. They're like, sir, there's a lot of damage here you didn't report.
Have you been in any accidents? No.
He's like,
not at all.
perhaps that would buff out.
Yeah, it sat in my driveway forever. All right, so let's just start things off talking about what we think, even though it's a small sample size, of Iman Esfandi as Ezra Bridger. And what did you think about his reveal?
I thought his reveal was perfect. It was in character, and I think because the whole moment was so built up by fans, not even by Dave Filoni, by fans, that Dave Filoni gave them what the character would do, where it was like, well, finally he showed up. Like, that's hilarious.
Mhm.
I think you can't have two gigantic reveals in one episode like that. I think it takes away from each reveal. So they had the big Thrawn moment that everybody loved, and then they had this moment for Ezra, which was genuine, intimate, personal, for Sabine. Now we'll get into Sabine in a little bit. I got some thoughts on Sabine, but I thought Ezra was great, and I thought the turtle, hermit crab, snail people the Nocti were perfectly Star Wars.
Yeah, I was really happy when they started speaking and it wasn't English.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That was one of our biggest collectively
Could've-
critiques of the sequel trilogy. Is like, why is everybody speaking
They
basic?
go to a new galaxy and they're like, "Hey, what's going on, man?"
Win the war.
Yeah, and it could have been bad too, like with the voice and everything. It really would have thrown the whole scene. But I was worried when I saw him too, because I was like, I was like kind of riding the 10, you know, and then they show up and I'm like, this might get silly here and I might not like this as much.
Interesting.
No,
Well,
but it didn't. It
I
was
know,
like,
but I was the reverse. Once they showed up, I went a point higher.
I agreed. I thought that they made the episode for me. That and the Howler made the episode for me.
Only
It was
because
like
there
so
was-
wonderful.
to
There was this-
clarify, I mean, like right when the character shows up, like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
like that first few seconds or something. And I'm like, this might get silly, but like the second he's like interacting with Sabine and all that, I was like, okay, I'm sold on this. Obviously this works. And then, you know, everybody else shows up, they all go back. It all works. I was just saying there was just a moment there for a quick thing where I'm like, this could, again, like if they were to speak English or basic or whatever, it could go the wrong direction. Uh-oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It
So
would
now
have taken it away if they did speak basic for
Right.
me.
But it worked.
So, James, what did you think of Iman Esfandi's debut as a bearded, blue-eyed Ezra Bridger?
It's great. I you know, I maybe would have thought they could have done something grand, but how they handled it is perfectly appropriate. As we were saying, I think he looks like Ezra, you know what I mean? It sells it.
Oh,
There was a like a fan pick that was around for years. It looked like Ezra and they added a beard, but it looked like an older Ezra. I'm sure we've probably all seen it.
Kind of like his dad is what people are
Yeah,
saying.
and it's like that, yeah, it looks like that Ezra to me. It really does. And everything about the outfit, and he has way bluer eyes than I thought he would in real life. But unlike Hera, where I thought the eyes seemed strange, in this, I felt sort of like not drawn in, you know what I mean? I
It's
felt
a
like it was
grayer
a
blue.
wholesome. Yeah.
Hera's eyes are almost like turquoise.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Between Ahsoka, Hera, and now Ezra, it's like they're working overtime with the blue contacts in the show.
I like
And then-
it though. It really works for me.
I think I think he looked good. I think he looked really good. My only thing is like if and I put myself in his shoes, I'm like, if I was like stuck in another galaxy for like 10 years and then I'm hanging out with these aliens and these turtles and stuff, and my best friend shows up, I would lose my mind. So I think it was a little strange that it was so subdued, but
Oh.
All right, John. But what, John?
A little
no.
subdued butt, you know what I mean? That's what you need.
I disagree with him. Like I said before, I thought that the episode did a really good job with introducing him. And I'll let John finish his point when he comes back.
Sure.
Technical issues, but everybody's laughing in the butt remix in the chat, which I appreciate. But I guess I'll get into the issue I had with the scene, which is Sabine. Guys, I got some comments over the weekend from people, not mean comments, just conversations in the DMs about how hard I was on Sabine last week or
So
whatever
she's
week it
gonna
was.
double down.
So I'm doubling down. I think that Sabine had moments this episode that I was like, okay, she's tough. She's doing her thing. But to me, she's still in that forward focus. I'm doing this for one person thing. And Ezra even goes like, it worked, right? Everything I did, it was worth the sacrifice, right? And she goes, well, like in her head, she's going, was it worth it? Because at the end of the day, she's now letting Thrawn go back, get away, which is the whole reason Ezra's been here for 10 years. Imagine you sacrifice your life for 10 years and your friend shows up and's like, hey, come on back. And you're like, cool, everyone's saved, right? And you're like, well, not exactly. I actually made a deal with the devil to come get you. Your response would be like, no, I sacrificed my life for 10 years. Why would you do this? Because Ezra knows that the greater good was more important than his own life, ultimately. So she's now basically undone that work. And that's where I get annoyed. Because I'm like, dude, you're not only doing this, which is selfish, but then he asks her and she's just like, we'll get to that later. That's kind of important.
I think you'll
lady.
get your answer in the next episode of how he actually reacts to
I
the
don't
news,
think
'cause
he's
she's
going to
have to-
react well. You have to
I
think
mean,
you've
he
been
might
on
not.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on in this space for 10 years and someone's going to undo that. Like what was the point then? Why make that sacrifice?
I think what makes the
But
show
I'll
good
let
is the fact.
John.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, James. Go ahead. I'm just
Well,
joking.
I think what makes the show good is the fact that it is supposed to be a moral dilemma that's tough because you could see it both ways, like saving everybody or saving this one person that your family member, your daughter, or someone that is very
Sure.
close to you, a specific individual. And she is writing that line right now of being like, "Hey, I found you. I just want to take that in for right now. I'll tell you about all the details and how I got here later." But I also thought that they know this is part of the discussion. Like, I'm on one side, you're sort of on the other. And I thought that that this episode starts by clarifying that is Ahsoka says she made the wrong decision, and Hu Yang says, yeah, but if she didn't, then there'd be no Ezra. So
Yes,
he's
but then
reminding her that there's another side to that story, and that it's important to remember that this loved one that we all care about dies if she doesn't make that decision,
yes, but then you get back into the whole difficult situation of, as a person, if you were forced to make the choice between someone you truly cared about and millions of people, is that one person worth it? And
I mean,
even
it's the trolley problem. It's
right.
like one
And
person
Thrawn
versus
makes the
10 people
comment,
or whatever. Yeah.
and I jokingly said to these guys in the chat, I was like, "Oh no, I agree with Thrawn," because Thrawn makes the comment to her like, "You're putting the fate of the galaxy for one person." And she's like, "Well, you don't understand." I was like, "No, you don't understand, Sabine. No, you don't understand." I was like very annoyed. Like, but that's a good character, right? That we get driven to a point that we're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" So I'm hoping that her and I come out of this fight by the end of the season. But right now, I'm not on good terms with Sabine. But John, I'll let you get back to your point there. You said it was subdued. Oh, no.
I don't know what's going on.
John, what happened?
Oh no! He's been here the whole time. The second he, oh my gosh!
People in the chat are making jokes that I'm about to throw down. Look, without swearing right now, Sabine would kick my butt like 10 times. I'd be dead in a second. So I'm not saying we're literally going to be in a fist fight, but I don't know. I'm definitely the person that's like kind of more of a Hera Princess Leia person, which is like what's better for everyone than like, hey, what's better for me? And right now Sabine's coming across like what's better for me. And I feel like him as an Ezra saying to her, did it work? Is such a moment that you're like, no, because she's gonna have to tell him, yes, it did, but here I am to get you, and I made a deal with the one person you didn't want me to make a deal with.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she also doesn't know that Thrawn's alive either. So, like, when she made that deal, it was Balin and them going.
But it's just as much as a chance as Ezra
I know.
being alive.
I know.
So
Yeah,
she said, I believe Ezra's alive, knowing that there's a chance that Thrawn's also alive. But yeah, people in chat are talking about Balin going back on his promises to Sabine too, and I think Balin is.
Well, that was clarified. He's not going back on the promise.
Yeah, he's not.
It's
He's being a weasel about it, but
yeah,
he's basically. The way I see Balin, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, is that he's a survivor and he's willing to pivot accordingly with what best suits him and what he thinks best suits what his plan is going to be. So I think him going back on it was, I see what Thrawn's got and I'm not going to fight that. Right.
It's interesting too, because I think it's the same as when he was asked to kill Ahsoka. I think it's sort of like, it would be a shame kind of thing. I think he's like, he makes this deal with Sabine and he's fulfilling that deal. But then when Thrawn says, oh, he's not, he's fulfilling the deal. Welcome back, John. He's fulfilling the deal. Um,
I'm gonna
but
try. I'm gonna try again. But if it freezes up again, I'm just gonna sit out the rest of the episode
oh
because this is
no.
no. I mean, this is. I feel terrible. I don't know what's going on. It's I have no idea. My camera's a piece of crap, so I don't know.
Okay, it's all good. It's all good.
Um,
Welcome back.
Yeah. So I don't know where we're picking up here, and I feel
You were
bad for our
saying-
audio listeners too because
you
they
were
have no
saying
idea
that-
what's going on.
It's okay. You were saying that Ezra's whole reveal is kind of
Well, I should clearly stop
subdued.
saying that because that's what's kicking me out of the stream.
Well, we're still talking about Ezra and Balin and Sabine, and like I went on a
Oh.
rant a little bit about how I feel Sabine is still being pretty selfish.
Well, yeah, I mean she is, but that's a lot of what Star Wars is. Like Luke Skywalker did things selfishly, Anakin did things selfishly, and just but it depends on what you do with it and what the outcome is. But the one thing that made me feel a little nervous was Ezra, like the last thing he said was, "I can't wait to go home," and like Sabine was like, I don't know if that's gonna happen."
That's
You
what I
know?
was saying. She like kind of lied to him, and it's just
Yeah.
so heartbreaking because the first thing he says to her is, "Did it work?
Yeah,
Did what I do? Was it worth it?" Basically,
right.
and
Yeah.
her response is, "Well,
Yeah, I mean it did
we'll
work.
talk
'cause
about it later."
we got rid
Like,
of Thrawn at the same time. So,
but did
but
they though?
but yeah, that's the thing. So he's coming back. So I don't know. I liked the introduction to Ezra. I like that it's not like I was saying. I was hoping it wouldn't be the Luke Skywalker. He's lost his way and he forgot what his name is,
Sure.
or one of those things. He's Ezra, and I'm glad
Mhm.
he is because that's exactly who that character is. He's already gone through all of his trials during Rebels, and I think he is a true Jedi the moment he did make that sacrifice and got rid of Thrawn. So if he were to show up in this and be conflicted or anything like that, it would have bothered me because it would have been a trope they've done before. And I'm glad that he is still the pure, hopeful, good, decent Ezra Bridger.
Right.
Yep, we didn't talk about that, but I was going to make sure to point out that when he was finally revealed to be this, he was the Ezra that you would expect him to be. There was no like, where have you been? It's been 10 years,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you didn't come and get me. Like there was nothing.
It's
He
like
was-
one
it
day
was-
didn't pass in his energy.
Or like
and-
Apocalypse
Yeah.
Now, he's like, "Who are you? Where'd you come from? Who sent you?"
Mhm.
Yeah. It's I was really happy with the way he was revealed, and I'm excited to see more of him in the next coming episodes. And I'm really curious because there are all these people that don't know these characters, and I'm wondering where people are sitting right now with being like, I could see a world. I hope that's not the case where people are being like, I just don't get it. Who's this guy? What did he do? I keep hearing that he's like some sort of hero or something, but like they're not explaining that. And
I think they're going to. I think what they have to explain is what happened when they got to wherever they got. Because clearly Thrawn's ship and or people are all seemingly in pieces. And
I
then
mean-
Ezra somehow got away. So the question is, what happened there? So I don't know if they're going to show that in the next episode. Are they going to kind of gloss over it? It's going to be interesting. I don't know where they're going to go.
I'm getting the vibe that the way the show has done the like sort of recapping the casual audience on what happened in Rebels, that the next episode would be a little bit of like when she tells him, he would explain that again. He'd be like, we were at a standstill. There was no other option. I got rid of him so that this wouldn't happen again, and a casual audience will be able to piece all that together that like at one point, this villain that we just got introduced who was really bad was going to do some stuff, and Ezra saved everybody by putting him in this thing,
I think by putting Thrawn behind that huge dead army, you automatically know, like, oh, this guy's not messing around. This guy means business.
I do think that his reveal as a villain was on par with. I don't. Do you guys think he came across as a bigger threat than Moff Gideon?
Yes.
Assuming we don't know anything about
100%.
Thrawn.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
He was
'Cause
terrifying.
I did really like Moff Gideon standing out there being like, I know everything about you and this and this and this. And it's all been leading to this. So I felt like he was a very terrifying villain, but I know more about Thrawn. So I know that Thrawn is the bigger threat, really.
I think, and with Thrawn too, is that there's this.
But I'm glad that it came off that way.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
calm measure to him that, he never really elevates or gets too low or too high, but he also thinks so logically that it's total preparedness at all times. And I liked when they did that angle with Ahsoka, and he's like, well, let's assume she's alive and prepare accordingly. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I like that.
I loved all of it, man. Him
Yeah.
like being like, and who are you? And he describes as like so you must be General Balin. He already knows about him and everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like they say, they bring up Sabine, and he's like, now that's a familiar name. Like it's like,
and you're
this
like,
is
oh,
all so
I don't want him to know
cool."
me. Yeah, I don't want him to know what my name is. I
Yeah.
do want to say something about Thrawn. I thought he looked great. He sounded great. He was terrifying. The costume looked cool. You have to remember this is 10 years. There have been people online already saying that he doesn't look great. And I just want to say that's dumb and shut up. You're being stupid. This is so dumb where people are like, he doesn't look like the cartoon character. No, duh. Okay, let's chill. He's the actual voice with the actual actor who's overjoyed to be a part of the show. Why don't you chill? Because every time I see people critique actors and the way they look, which they did with Boba Fett, I'd like to see those people get into these costumes and stand in front of me and tell me how good they look. Because I guarantee they don't.
They probably do that.
I'm just so sick of people. People in the comments are saying I'm going to fight someone today. Between Sabine
100%.
and internet trolls that are just being rude, yeah, I might fight someone.
The other thing about Thrawn that I guess I never realized, because I didn't read the Thrawn books. I don't really like Thrawn, so I'm giving him a shot here in live action. But when he said something about how he wonders who her master was or whatever, so he doesn't know that Anakin Skywalker was Ahsoka's master.
I was gonna bring this up.
And they've clearly had worked together as
Yes.
Darth Vader and Thrawn. So that's interesting.
But before that, even he's worked with Thrawn twice. Once as Anakin.
Oh yeah, right.
And Padme.
Right.
And then years later, when he joins the Empire, he was like, I know that guy. That guy's the same guy I worked with a long time ago. That's Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
And Vader knows he knows, but they
so
don't really talk
that
about
to me, I don't want to say it, but I feel like that locks in another appearance by Anakin to
flashback.
No, to actually impact something with Thrawn in this series or something later. Like
That would
Anakin
be
could
crazy.
Anakin could be in the movie. Like this is just setting the table. Let's not forget, we're talking about we're sad there's 2 episodes left. I don't think this series is ending with any sort of nicely tied bows at all. I think this is going to be a springboard that's going to send us into a spiral of speculation and chaos that we're not prepared for.
I'm prepared for it because I was having an anxiety attack while watching this episode. I was like, we don't understand how bad things are about to get. Like they're putting boxes on the ship. It's going to take 3 days to get them on the ship. What are in the boxes? What's going on? Why is everybody dead? Why is Thrawn so calm? Like I'm freaking out. What is going on?
Yeah, like the witches of Dathomir are going to like show up on Endor and revive that rotting dead burnt carcass of Darth Vader.
Loved that Witches of Dathomir stuff. I was like, I'm watching Dune right now and it's awesome. It looked so good. Cool. Yeah. I love the characters, and I was like, I took a step back and I was like, imagine somebody just watching like walking into a room like, hey, what are you watching? And they see this on the TV. You wouldn't be pulled to Star Wars, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you would think like, what is this crazy high budget show? It looks like Blade Runner or Dune or something, it just looks like so incredibly good. And just the stuff and the talking and the sound and everything. I was eating it all up. I was like, this is amazing. And the whole story of, by the way, we didn't really touch on that, but like the whole story of like, this is where the Dathomirian people came from and all this. It's like, this is nuts. And so there are multiple mothers, and then like one of the mothers was sent to be the mother of the people in that galaxy or whatever. It's crazy. It makes me wonder if this is like a port for other galaxies and the Night Sisters are sending them all out and there's like representatives kind of, it's so nuts. And I'm like, I love all of this.
Yeah, it is crazy. And when you think about like the episode overall, it's pretty linear, like it's pretty direct, but the things that they hit us with were just so different and so big. It was it's just sort of mind blowing. And the episode went by pretty quick for me too. Like I remember checking in at one point, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like we only have a few minutes left. But overall, I thought it was really cool. Like I said, minor critiques for me. Maybe Ezra's reaction a little bit, but he could have sensed Sabine arriving, and that's why he knew she was there, and he was going to just have a little fun with her. But also, I just wish if we're going to this brand new galaxy, in a galaxy that's already kind of crazy, fictional galaxy, I wish this planet was a little more unique looking and not like, New Mexico or something.
It did look very much like California.
Yeah, we're just like like rocks.
I don't
like the Ezra
know.
reaction. I still stand by that. The reason they're making him so happy and joyous and like, oh, calm is because once he realizes what Sabine did, they need to have him switch to anger. He has to be angry. So if like John, what you were saying before, if we showed up and he was Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, then there's no difference between when she tells him the news and when he finds out type thing. So whereas now he's like so optimistic and wonderful and the Ezra that we know, and then she has to break this news to him of like, oh, BT dubs, like what's going to happen? That's a big question mark. Like, how is he going to react to that news?
I mean, I don't know that he's going to go full on like acting scene where he like really, gets upset or anything like that. It could just be a thing where he's like, what have you done? You know what I mean? Like he could just be like, he could just say what it is. I don't know. I also wanted to comment really quick on the planet thing. I don't disagree with you, by the way. Like I didn't really think of that or notice that. I guess that it could have been a little more like Interstellar or something, like really crazy.
Yeah. Right.
But when I saw that, I think like looking at this image right here, this other planet, I think what differentiates this from say like Obi-Wan when he was walking around in the desert is something about the way that they color it. Like to me, that looks like this like
filter,
natural and gray or something.
And the distance, they have a lot of distance in their shots.
I mean, yeah, that's fair too. It just something about like the Obi-Wan almost seemed like too natural. Like they filmed it and then they didn't really change the color.
Yeah, and something. I'm fine with it. It's just like when I thought of like, and this is my fault, I guess, but when I was like, oh, we're going through this hyperspace, we're gonna show up in this new galaxy. What is this gonna look like? And then it's like,
yeah,
it's cloudy like New Jersey, and there's a lot of rocks.
Like New Jersey.
Oh, I was gonna make a joke like those aren't rocks, those are whale bones. But
oh no, yeah,
you weren't talking about the rings. You were talking about on the ground.
Yeah.
They're setting that up though when they kept saying like, oh, this is where whales go to die. You have all these dead stormtroopers, and they're just dead.
Well, it seems I was wrong about that. The whales don't come from this galaxy,
right?
They go come there here to die.
Yeah,
and that's not a good sign.
No, that's not a good. This is a bleak place for sure.
So that means the whales that took Ezra here came here to die.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, we're going to die anyway. So do you want to come die with us? And he's like,
we're all going to die.
Let's go. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say had to do with where this is going, and I hope Ezra like gets in the mix because I don't see any reason why he would have lost his abilities. So I'm curious, like, is he going to be like, oh, you have my lightsaber? Sweet. Can I get that? Yo,
hit me with that real quick.
So yeah, so I hope we see Ezra do some stuff because and I know we will in other projects that he's going to be in, because I think he's going to be in a bunch going forward. But I hope in these next two episodes we get to see a little taste of him, whether he fights Balin or even faces off against some of those death, what do they call them? Not death troopers.
Night troopers.
Night troopers. They were going to run out of names for those guys, by the way.
What do you mean? They could do any word in front of trooper.
Yeah. Hamburger troopers.
Yeah, they could do any type of word. I will say that if they kill any of those turtle, hermit crab, Nocti people, I'm going to be so upset because the whole episode was giving me like Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, Jim Henson vibes. And because he's like, oh, we got to move, we got to keep moving, and those bandits are right there, and then Balin's teaming up with the bandits. If I'm seeing like turtle people die, I'm going to be very upset with Dave Filoni.
I think they could do that, and that could be something that like ignites Ezra. I'm also interested too. When I saw Ezra revealed, I started to get excited for people who don't know how good of a Jedi this guy is, And I was like, I know that this show is sort of like, we've gotten reveals of Ahsoka before. She's been in other shows and people have kind of learned a little bit. But this show still is sort of like Ahsoka's like, hey, here's a Jedi you didn't know about. Isn't she cool? Look at how good she is at fighting and stuff. But I think there was mental preparation on the fact that the show was just called Ahsoka. And I was like, yeah, everybody's going to be introduced to Ahsoka in live action. When I saw Ezra, though, it like all fell on me. I was like, they're also going to get to learn Ezra as a Jedi with a lightsaber and how good he is at the Force and everything. I was like, this is incredible.
Jason Syndulla is going to get to meet Ezra for the first time, hopefully. And like, I like that now that I look back on some of the episodes, and like especially the one right before, maybe this one right before, where he's watching Ahsoka take off with Huyang, and he's like, that reminds me of that story you told me about Ezra and the space whales and stuff. And like, so to him, sort of like, Rey talking about Luke Skywalker, Ezra's like this myth, like this he's only seen this person in stories, and now he's like, hopefully, like I say, going to get to meet him and hopefully maybe become his apprentice. But
can I throw something out there?
Oh, that's the part of the show. Yeah.
Yes or no question. Do you think Ezra's going to kill Baylan Skoll?
No.
I think he will. I think Baylan's donezo.
I think Baylan's donezo, but it would be...
Or Shin's donezo.
I think Shin Hati will kill Baylan Skoll.
You think she's going to turn on her master?
Yes.
That might be. You guys said you were getting shade. You were getting shades from her, and I was like, I don't really see that. I think she just doesn't see the whole picture every time.
No.
Like,
there's a specific shot that as soon as she did it, I went, there it is. It's happening. She doesn't agree with any of this. She's going to turn. And it's the point where they're talking to Thrawn, and Thrawn says, go do this thing. And Baylan's like, which I'm obviously paraphrasing terribly. And Baylan's like, yeah, let's go. And she looks at Thrawn, and the camera holds on her. And she has a look of, I don't want to do this. What are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
And that moment, I was like, well, there it is. She's going to turn on him or die in the process, or it's been nice knowing you, Shin.
She also does not like witches. We don't know what the story is there.
She does not.
Every time they're around, she's like,
witches.
I don't want to be here. I don't like
She looks like a witch, and she's like, no more witches.
I mean, she could also easily just turn and say, like, this ain't what I'm here for, and like decide she wants to roll with the good guys.
Because she keeps asking questions like, do you miss it? Is it like me? Yeah. Did this happen? To me, it's like she's gathering information to make her choice.
I think... Oh, sorry, James.
I was going to say, I don't know where Shin fits into it, but I do think it would be cool if the final battle somehow was like Sabine and Ahsoka and Ezra versus Baylan, which would really give him that powerful, like he's taking on 3 of these people. Yeah. I mean, I still think Ahsoka would probably get that final blow, but
I think it has to be Ahsoka because he more or less killed her, and she's the hero of the show. Like, you can't throw that imbalance without righting it a wrong.
Baylan doesn't know she's still alive, by the way, because he had already left at this point.
Right.
Remember? Yeah. They were like, oh, he clearly lied to you. Like, Thrawn was already putting in these seeds of like, Baylan's not telling you the truth. She's alive. Clearly. The Night Sisters are telling us.
Yeah. And he said, and he's like, plus you got that information from a former Jedi. So
right.
It's like throwing all this doubt out there. It's so crazy how good he is, man.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Do we know who's directing the next episode by chance? I should have prepared.
The last 2 are Rick.
He's doing both of the last 2 again?
I thought he was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Double check it, but
it was
I think
similar to
I thought he was just doing
he was doing like a sort of like a part 1, part 2. Not really, you know how it is, but
yeah. Okay.
Do we want to do some super chats?
No, I was going to say Geeta Patel is directing 7, and Fami was doing 8.
8. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely do some super chats.
All right. Awesome. So first up, we have John B. Thank you so much again for the super chat. Love your pick. He said the night troopers might creep Lacey out, but I think the cargo they are loading is going to be far worse. You said that, and my chest just went like. What do you guys think they're carrying? What is the cargo? What's your guess?
Well, it looks like caskets, doesn't it?
I think they're bodies. I think he's bringing a dead army back with him.
No, I think it's. I mean, that could be, but I
Because
think
they're in the
it's.
catacombs.
Well, they said from the catacomb. I mean, that's a good point. I think that it is something, some mineral or something that is only found on this planet that Thrawn has seized the power in. And when they take it back, he's going to build that weapon or do that thing that he's going to do that's going to lead up to that ultimate thing, to the movie. Does that make sense? Similar
You're
to what he
saying these
was.
caskets are the MacGuffin of the movie?
Like he's mining? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like they used their time. They found some sort of precious material that's there that's very powerful, similar to what he was doing in Rebels, because he found that material that he was using in order to build the TIE Defender and all that. And he's like, that's what makes this ship so great. But then everything backfired and he wasn't able to.
Is this question been answered? Why are all these guys dead?
I
Where'd they
think
come
they're.
I think they died when the
I
ship
think they
crashed.
died when the ship crashed, and then
They
he
all died?
found. I think he found the Night Sisters, and they
Thrawn
said,
was wrapped up.
I think he was fine, and they found the Night Sisters, and they said, "We can help you. We'll make a deal with you. The fate is that you need to go back to the galaxy. This is going to happen. We're seeing the future. Therefore, we're going to help you do it." And by having a dead army, those people are they can recycle them multiple times. They just keep bringing them back or whatever,
So
know?
that's
Maybe.
a little
I mean, they
Game of
didn't bring
Thrones-y.
back. They didn't
But
bring back.
it was
what's his face?
specific, right? But he was specifically killed away by Ahsoka. You don't know if he was killed in a certain spot, like a vampire. You don't know like what she did to him. You know what I mean? She just
Mhm.
killed him.
Because Game of Thrones, like
Lord of
the
the Rings
Night
had a
King-
dead army.
Yeah, the Night King revived a dragon, and it was a zombie dragon. And it's like,
Yeah.
Sick.
yeah, and it's like,
Spoiler alert.
But the question is, though, if you cut off the head, does the rest die? So if they kill these witches, do all these things like explode into dust?
Those witches got to go.
So I'm saying, like,
Oh,
is it gonna be one of those things where, like,
Yeah.
oh, if we kill the witches, then they'll all die, and then like it's like in Phantom Menace blowing up the Trade Federation, and then all the droids collapse. It's like that, except you're killing these witches. That might be what has to happen here, including Morgan
possibly.
Elsbeth.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that cargo's dead bodies for a more army because
Morgan
More.
Elsbeth is not surviving this season of Ahsoka. I'm telling you right now.
I thought he was going to kill her this episode. There was a couple moments I was like,
yeah.
where she was like questioning him. She was like, "Aren't you sure you don't want to send more people?" And he was just like,
Unless
nah.
Shin does it, because like you guys bring up, she hates witches, and she's probably the most accessible one because she looks like she's less scary looking.
The only way Morgan's going to die at the hand of Shin is if
So
she gets
many deaths.
if she gets in the way. Like if Morgan tries to get in the way in some way, I feel like Shin will be
It's-
like, "Nah, you got to go."
It's gonna be wild. Do you think we're going back to the
Oh.
known galaxy in this next 2 episodes?
No,
All right.
not
Oh,
yet.
I don't know. It might end with they've saved
Made the
everybody. It's all fine, and then it's like take off to hyperspace to go back.
All right. Let's see what else the super chats are cracking.
Mike Levin's up. What up, Mike? Thanks for the super chat. He said, "Am I the only one that's still glad Sabine has not used the Force? I'm prepared to be disappointed by the end." Yeah, they keep doing this like little like I call it the hot tub time machine. What happened to his arm? Like where they're like, "Is she gonna do it?" And then it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Do
know.
you guys think she smells like a Jedi because she is Jedi?
I don't think that was her. I think it's Balin, because
I thought
After-
that too. Like they switched to her, but it's really about Balin.
and after she got roped up and pulled in, they flashed to just him, and he sort of like gives a look like, I think that was me.
Maybe he's having good intentions. Like maybe he's second guessing because he's seeing around him like the craziness that he's
Well, yeah,
getting
he still
involved in.
believes in the idea of Jedi. He just knows that it always leads to failure in his eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the guy is like he was like a crazy villain and now he's like seemingly being pulled back to the light or something. I've always felt that he's done
his
a
own
great
thing.
job of just writing the
He's
line.
zigzagging.
Sometimes things don't feel right, and that's not really the right thing to do, And it's like that's not something a Sith would say, but it's something someone in Balin's position would say, and also then turn around and do something bad.
He doesn't believe in inevitabilities, and he wants to erase them and create a new pattern. That's basically what he wants to do. And that
Well, he's
may
basically
include
trying to create the galaxy
vanquishing
in his vision, just like
Yeah.
Anakin.
Thanos. Yeah.
Well, Anakin says that, I can
Make
the
things the way we want them to be.
Thanks, Mike. Next up is Chibigon89. Danny, what up, Danny? She said, I was expecting for Ezra to be rocking a turtle shell, like Master Roshi, to blend in with the hermit crabs. Nevertheless, I'm happy he's finally back. Yeah, he had the looked like chainmail type situational
Oh, I
on.
can pull it back up.
Yeah, it kind of looked like some type of under protective coating.
He's
Yeah,
got the
there it
face
is.
scars, which was nice to see.
He looks so good, and his hair
Yeah,
looks
they
really
did the-
fluffy for being in like a turtle village. I was like
Yeah.
very jealous. I was like, it looks so wonderful.
Yeah, so far so good with that casting, and all the castings. Honestly, I thought they've nailed it.
Yeah.
I think I'm falling back on. I think it was accurate with the if I don't know where they come from, they seem to fit the character better. But if I've seen them in other things, I go, you know.
Yeah.
Mike Lovins is back. What up, Mike? Welcome back. He said, "Is this galaxy the home of Snoke's DNA template?"
I
Well,
don't know.
there's Snoke right on screen. There he is. Ezra Bridger. He becomes Snoke. We all know it.
Oh, I was like, what? I was like, who else did he clone?
You know,
I don't know, man.
I would question, like, how does this work into Palpatine if there was like one box, but the fact that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of boxes that they're unloading and it's taking 3 days, 3 rotations, that's why I'm saying, like, no, this has to be something different.
I kind of want to.
Did we ever find out
look at these
who
boxes.
Moff Gideon, like he says, like, you know who I work for or something like that? Did we ever find out, like, is he working for Thrawn?
I thought he was working for Thrawn. I thought that's what was hinted at. And it wasn't Moff Gideon, wasn't it? It was the guy that takes the pill, right? Wasn't he flying the ship? And he said, like, I'm not going because he knew that there was someone worse above him.
I could have sworn there was a moment in
Or was it Moff?
Mando
Oh
season
my God,
1
these
where he
shows are
said,
blending together, guys.
I think it was Mando season 1 when he's like one of his first 2 episodes, and he's like, you know who I work for, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where this spider web is gonna.
Because I only
go.
asked that because, yeah, to Mike's question, if he is working for Thrawn, but then like Palpatine didn't want Thrawn to return, right? So I don't know. It's like it's messy with the cloning.
I
stuff.
think Thrawn is out on his own thing at this point.
I don't think this has anything to do with Thrawn. I'm with Lacey on that. Or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this has anything to do with Palpatine.
Or
Yeah.
the Snoke stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have Ryan
Thank you.
Wara. What up, Ryan? Love your R2D2 picture. He said Filoni went full Star Wars in these last 2 episodes. New creatures, Clone Wars, lightsaber duels, Anakin. Dave is out of control, and I'm here for it. I will stick by what everybody else is saying because we're all collectively saying it is like this show feels more Star Wars than anything I've watched live action. And that's talking about Kenobi too. Like this show just feels so Star Wars to me. And it's like obviously the continuation of a story we all know and love, but at the same time it's so fresh and new that it's exciting to me. Like I haven't been this excited in a while, I think.
Yeah, it was, I mean, so far, like all 6 episodes, the cohesive story and the quality has been good from each to the next. And the writing has been outstanding too. And I think they've really done a good job implementing the visual effects. Like overall, like the total package of the show has so far been really good. And I expect that to continue, especially if it's being, with it being anchored by Rick Famuyiwa.
Right. Makes you question what's next for Rick after this too, because he's been doing these big episodes. Like, are they preparing him for something else?
Yeah, good question. He may have just a bigger role overseeing elements of Disney Plus live action series.
Right.
You know,
he could also join Dave Filoni as like second unit or co-producer or something. Something he could join in the production of that movie to some degree as well.
Yeah.
I do have one more super chat.
One more, okay.
Frank Grande, which first of all, it was Frank's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Frank!
Happy birthday, Frank.
Chat. He said, "Do you think Thrawn explored some of the new galaxy and formed new allies that he might bring back with him?" I got the gist that this is all that's there, is this planet in this location. Like, because he seemed like he was very much like, this is all we got here.
It's sort of like a Mars, like there's nothing there.
That's what it felt like, because if
Yeah.
these whales go there to die, to me, that says there's nothing there.
Well, don't forget though, you guys are describing the planet, and the question is, do you think he explored some of
No, I
the
know what
new
he's
galaxy?
asking.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know what he's asking. I'm saying, to me, it seems like he didn't, because there's just this stuff here. And like Ezra stayed on the planet this whole time. To me, that says that there's
I don't
maybe
know what he.
there's a large distance between the planets in this
All I know is
galaxy.
Disney Lucasfilm Publishing is licking their lips with a 10-year gap in a new galaxy that they can write stories about. Thrawn and Timothy Zahn probably just put a down payment on a new house. It's a lot of good things going on.
Oh, Timothy. And he was a consultant on the show, wasn't he?
Yeah.
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 Good for him.
So yeah, I don't have too much else on this episode. I think we covered a lot of it. And again, it's a deceptively linear story. Like there wasn't a lot of, Ahsoka wasn't really a part of the equation. So then you get down to the, Thrawn, Ezra, Sabine stuff.
Mhm.
And of course, Balin holding true north here. But anything
I
else
do
you guys
also
want to toss out there?
It's Mark's birthday today. Happy
Oh, hey,
birthday,
Mark.
Mark.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I had one other thing. All the scenes with Sabine's like dog character were very charming and fun. And
Howler, right? Is that what
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe. But they treated it like a very lovable dog. And you say you're being a bad dog, and the ears go down, and then you're like,
Yeah.
get out of here, and they like walk away. But then there's the scene where it walks away, but then like it's empty screen
Yeah,
for a
they
second,
leave
and
it,
comes
and then
like,
it comes back.
and it's like that's exactly what a dog would do, and it's just it makes it feel like this companion that you have that like it does get scared, but it doesn't want to be scared. It's kind of thing. It's like when your dog is shaking because there's thunder or something like that, and you're like, you're such a coward. But then it's a poor little dog, and like, I don't know. Just I thought everything was really cute about that, and I thought one thing was kind of strange. She had all these commands for the dog, and I was like, how did she teach this dog? But then on the second rewatch, Enoch pulls the command and it does what it's supposed to do, and I was like, oh, she picked it up there. She knows that the dog is trained. She's using the words that she heard before and stuff, and I was like, man, this is all so good. I just love all of this. It's so great.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't have much else. I don't know. Where do you think we're gonna go with Sabine and Ezra though, as like a final speculation?
She's got to tell him what happened. That's the
Yeah.
big moment right now. She can't go on acting like nothing's wrong.
My debate is how he reacts. Is it going to be a big acting like explosive moment, or is it going to be almost like what Ahsoka would do? Is sort of like I'm very disappointed. We need to move forward, or whatever.
I think he's going to have a bigger reaction than people think.
I think he's gonna forgive her. I feel like Ezra is like the quintessential how a Jedi should be. So I think he's gonna forgive her.
Been 10 years he's been in exile on this planet alone.
Yeah.
10
He's having a
years.
good time though. He's like, hey, do you meet my
Yes.
friends?
He's having a good time until his friends get murdered by Balin and those
Don't
bandits.
say that.
I don't want it to happen, John, but I'm just
think
trying to
she
set
might be onto something.
expectations that if
The enemy of our
Sabine
enemy is our friend.
Yeah, Sabine has sacrificed the cute turtle people for her own, self. Then she's also sacrificing the galaxy for her own self. So now you have these two collective things. Like there's got to be a moment where he's like, "Oh my god, like what happened?"
I think part of the reason that I sort of forgive this is because I know that all of it's going to be okay. Like at the end of the day, I'm like,
Of course,
I know that in the moment she doesn't know how this is going to play out, but I know that we know that the heroes are going to win and they're going to have a ride home, and Ezra, everything's going to be fine.
He doesn't know that though.
No, I know totally. I'm aware that in the moment they haven't seen the sequel trilogy yet. I get that, but I'm saying when I think all of this is wrapped up and we get to that. They don't know they're building up for a Dave Filoni movie, but we do. So when we get to that Dave Filoni movie and Thrawn is destroyed and I it's like it pays off because we did defeat the villain and we also got our heroes back and we saved Ezra. You know what I mean? But that doesn't happen if she destroys the orb. And it's like, like I get it. I do get it. But I still think of it as like there's only one way to save Ezra and we have to take that path because he's a hero and we need him alive.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh over you.
He's
but
Galaxy's hope or something,
Mhm.
Yeah, Michelle in the chat said Ezra's going to forgive her long before Lacey does.
Right? Yeah.
I don't hold anything on Sabine. I think it would be a funny moment though if Hu Yang told Ezra that Ahsoka didn't want to go get him or something.
You know what though? I take back what I said before. Do we think they're going to leave this galaxy? Yes, because we have to close out this series with Hera again.
Yeah,
I don't think
and Zeb.
We can leave the galaxy.
Well,
It doesn't mean
Zeb.
it doesn't mean they leave the galaxy though. We can go back. We don't need to hop on a Purgle. We have Star Wars screen wipes. Take us right back to the other galaxy.
I know, but I think the series closes probably better with. I don't know. Maybe they do that in the next series or whatever. Yeah, maybe.
All right, we have a couple more super chats.
The mouth of their own whale, and they're like, "Let's go."
They're all like,
those whales are like, "I came here to die. Let me die in peace."
All right, Freezy2324, not an episode without Freezy. What up, man? He said Mark Hamill being announced Thursday for Fan Expo South. I'm assuming this is San Francisco. That's awesome. Probably. Mark Hamill's the best. If you have the opportunity to meet him, do it. Ryan War's up again. What up, Ryan? He said, by the end of the series, will Sabine bow out and Hera allow Ahsoka to take on Jason as a Padawan? I think yes. I said this last episode. I think Ahsoka's taking on Jason.
John sold me. It's Ezra taking.
You think it's Ezra?
Yeah. It makes more sense.
I mean, it would be
connection.
the parallel, obviously. Yeah.
So it has to be. Yeah. And I think Ahsoka, with this whole Ahsoka the White path that she's going on, her walking away from Sabine,
she's moving on the next chapter.
That needs to get fixed. That needs to get righted. And whether she becomes force sensitive or not, she could still be her Padawan. So that needs to be reconnected in order for Ahsoka to truly be on this path of like righting these doubts that she had and all that stuff.
Do you think Ahsoka's forgiven Sabine?
I think so.
I don't think she has. I don't think she fully has. I think she's kind of like in this period of like disappointment. But I don't think she's fully accepted what Sabine's done.
I think
that she's willing to listen.
But I think that's the conversation that she has with Huyang at the beginning is he's saying, you got to look at it from her side too, that she's only got one choice and all this other stuff. So it's like, I think he's winning her over on the way that she was viewing it. It may not have been the best way to handle it. And she will come around and forgive her and they'll see it the way that she's seeing it.
Like way more chill right now. So
I want to know about Jason though. This just occurred to me is that typically I know we have Luke and Leia who were the offspring of the chosen one born of the Force, but typically I don't think there's very many children who inherit abilities from previous Force users. Because I think that was always sort of a thing. Is it's not like your parent was a natural. And you'll have that ability too, like it's sports or something. I've always felt that it just comes very randomly, like a very powerful Force user could come from two nobodies.
Yeah.
So I also then wonder, well, how does Rey factor into that? But there was cloning and stuff, so I don't know. But that's interesting that Jason does actually potentially have very strong abilities like his father, because that's sort of unprecedented in Star Wars. Maybe even though we think of it all the time as like, Luke and then his dad too had it and stuff. But I'm like, I think that's the one exception. It's just like the main story of Star Wars that is the exception. That's kind of strange.
Maybe it's sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Thanks for the super chat, Ryan.
Thanks everybody.
Great way to end.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us on this episode. I can't wait for next week already. But whether you listened or watched, we appreciate it very much. Sorry for any of my technical difficulties that I had before. Johnny needs a new camera. But make sure you are spreading the word of TRB. And if you like what we do here at TRB and would like to support what we do here at TRB, join our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/ROSEWATER. Resistance Broadcast. Tiers start at just $5, and we have exclusive mini episodes every week. We do live streams on there. We do Q&As. We do commentaries. We have a Discord server. A lot of cool stuff. So go check it out. And if you find a tier that you like and you're able to support us, we thank you very much. Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. And a big shout out to our generals and spice runners: Carmelo, John RISI, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Darth Hurricane, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Mori, Matt Heath, Brendan McLaughlin, Count Pepto, Sneaky Zebra, Aaron Ellington, Colin Cormier, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Diana, and Dave Hornack. And our spice runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Michael Fry, and the Fortworthian. For me, Johnny Hoey on all the major social media platforms, including Threads and Blue Sky, because I will be damned if I pay for my social media platforms. And my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We just did Tarantino's Death Proof. Go check it out if you're down for that. James, how about you?
Both X and Instagram at Myra Trunks.
Lacey.
All social channels at Lacey Gilleran, on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran, and please follow TRB at TRB Podcasts on all social channels. We're putting stuff up on Instagram with reactions right after the episodes and much more. So check that out there and spread the word. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and thank you everybody, because we have been seeing a lot of new people joining. So if you are spreading the word, keep it going. We appreciate it so much. But that's it for us. We hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Great time rewatching this episode of Ahsoka a billion times. And we'll be back on Monday, where we're going to dip a little bit into speculation on the news about Lando being a movie now. So enjoy your weeks, enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.